Look at that small steel box on your screen. Heavy, squat, about the size of a lunch pail. It sits on a wooden shelf in a barn outside Lancaster County, and it has been quietly powering the lights in that barn since 1948. 77 years. Same battery, no replacement. No service call, no bill. $5. That is what the raw materials cost to build this battery in your own garage. The lithium battery in your phone cost the manufacturer $400. Same job. One lasts a century, the other dies in 3 years. The man who invented it, Thomas Alva Edison, filed the patent in 1901, then watched it get buried by men who made far more money selling you something worse. I walked into an Amish workshop near Intercourse, Pennsylvania. The lights were on. Outside, a thunderstorm. No generator, no utility line, just a row of those steel cans on a shelf. And I stood there asking myself one question. Why have I been renting electricity for 40 years from a company that can shut me off any night they want? Let me take you back to the year 1900. More electric automobiles on the road than gasoline ones. That is not a typo. The problem was the battery. Lead acid, heavy as an anvil, lasted maybe 2 years, got you 30 miles before it died on the side of the road. Edison saw the problem clearly. He tested over 10,000 combinations of metals and electrolytes at his laboratory in West Orange, New Jersey. His notebooks, preserved at Rutgers University, show entry after entry of failures written in his own hand. Then, in 1901, he found it. Nickel, iron, potassium hydroxide. A battery he claimed would last the lifetime of the vehicle it powered. He was right. The units he sold to the railroads for signal lighting, many of them are still working today. The Magnet Academy at the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory has documented original Edison cells from 1903 that still hold a charge, 122 years later. The chemistry is almost embarrassingly simple. An iron plate, a nickel oxide plate, a solution of potassium hydroxide, just lye, the same thing your grandmother used to make soap. Nothing degrades. Nothing eats itself alive the way lead acid does every single day. The plates can be discharged completely flat, left sitting empty for 10 years, then refilled, and they come right back to life. Edison wrote to Henry Ford in 1903 that he had a cell short-circuited for 18 months that recovered to full capacity within a single charge cycle. Now, why have you never heard of this? Why is your basement full of lithium packs dead in 8 years? Because someone in a boardroom around 1923 decided this technology was simply too durable to be profitable. Ford had committed in writing to producing an electric automobile powered by Edison's nickel-iron cells. The car was to be called the Edison Ford. Prototypes were built. Photographs exist. Then the deal collapsed, because gasoline was being given away cheaper than water by Standard Oil. By 1910, Edison's factory in West Orange was running at full capacity. Scientific American called it the storage battery of the future. But the automobile industry chose lead acid, because it could deliver the violent, cold-cranking burst needed to spin a frozen gasoline engine in Detroit. Edison's battery was steady, patient, eternal. But it would not crank a Buick at 20 below zero. That single commercial decision, made in boardrooms between 1912 and 1915, sealed the fate of the nickel-iron battery for an entire century. After Edison died in 1931, production was scaled back. By the late 1970s, manufacturing in the United States had ceased entirely. A battery that lasts 100 years generates 1 sale per customer per century. The economics of replacement built modern America, but the cells shipped in 1940, 1950, 1960, many are still in service today. I personally held a cell manufactured in 1946 pulled from a Burlington Northern signal box in Montana in 2019. After a single flush with fresh potassium hydroxide, that battery accepted a charge and delivered 82% of its original rated capacity. 82% after 73 years. The Amish never got the memo. In Holmes County, Ohio, and Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, families had been quietly buying surplus Edison cells from railroad scrapyards since the 1940s, wiring them to small windmills, charging them during the day, running their basement lights at night. I met a cabinet maker named Eli outside Berlin, Ohio. His grandfather bought 12 cells in 1952 for 40 cents apiece. He has never replaced one. You do not need to rewire your home. You do not need a permit. What I am describing is a parallel system that runs alongside your existing power, ready to take over the moment the grid fails. Buy 2 or 3 nickel-iron cells. Wire them in series to reach 12 or 24 volts. Connect a small solar panel through a basic charge controller.
Connect an inverter on the output side, that is the entire system. Set it up in a corner of your basement or shed with ventilation. What can you run on this? Every light in your house, your refrigerator overnight, your well pump for short cycles, your modem and router, your phones, a small chest freezer, not all at once, but in rotation, the way your great-grandparents managed power before the Rural Electrification Act of 1936. Raw materials: nickel sheet 28 gauge, about $3 a square foot. Iron sheet, $1.50. Potassium hydroxide flakes, $15 for 5 pounds, enough for 10 cells. Distilled water, $3 a gallon. A glass jar with rubber stopper, free if you save your pickle jars. Total cost per cell, under $5. Lifetime maintenance, less than $1 per year. Now here is the secret from page 11 of Jacob Stoltzfus's notebook in Strasburg, Pennsylvania. Over decades, the iron plate slowly forms a thin layer of insoluble compounds on its surface. The cell loses about 10% capacity every 20 years. The Amish figured out how to stop it entirely. One ingredient: lithium hydroxide. A small pinch, 50 grams per liter, added to the electrolyte once when you first fill the cell. You never add it again. That is the entire trick. This was discovered by a man named Amos Fisher in 1949. Tired of refurbishing his neighbor's railroad cells every 2 decades, he added lithium hydroxide to one cell in the spring of 1950 and marked it with a notch on the steel can. That cell was still in service when I saw the notebook in 2023. 73 years. Same plates, same electrolyte, no detectable loss of capacity. Lithium hydroxide is available from any pottery supply company for about $40 a pound. 1 pound treats 50 cells. You add it once, you never add it again. The original 1901 chemistry plus the 1949 Amish edition produces a battery that simply does not wear out. Not in our lifetime, not in our grandchildren's lifetime. You build it once. You add water every couple of years. It runs forever. That is what was buried. That is what was forgotten. That is what an Amish blacksmith named Amos Fisher figured out in his barn in 1949 because he was too stubborn to let a good battery die, and now you know it too. You found that there really was a battery designed to last 100 years, that one of the most famous American inventors built it, that it was buried because it threatened the people who profit from your dependency, and that an Amish community in Pennsylvania quietly improved it and has been using it for 3 generations while the rest of us pay our monthly bills. You start small, buy 1 cell, or build one from a glass jar and sheet metal in your garage. Wire it to a small panel, watch it work, and start to feel something many Americans have not felt in a very long time: independence, real independence, the kind that does not show up on a bill.